Hi, I'm Ann Coulter. Welcome to my Substack. I have the infamous and now famous head of the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio, with me today, and my friend, who has just been pardoned by the, turns out, wonderful President Trump. Welcome, Enrique.
Thank you, Ann, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate not only your support now, but your support even way before this, way before anybody supported us. I think you supported us, but you knew, you were calling a spade, and you knew we weren't these white supremacist Nazis or any other of those stupid words that they use to describe the Proud Boys. And I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you. And I'm excited to be here with you.
Thank you. There's so much you have to tell us. And yes, I mean, for my regular viewers, you've probably heard me say this, the Proud Boys have chapters all over the country. They have protected me and people coming to see my speeches and coming to my book signings all over the country from vicious, violent Antifa attacks. I've met hundreds of Proud Boys. They're often off duty or ex-police or military. They have absolutely saved me from going into the hospital on more than one occasion as Antifa surrounded me. So this idea, I mean, the reason they had to be anathematized by the media was to strip people like me of having any strong men to protect me. Just let Antifa run wild. So yeah, huge fan of the Proud Boys. I was enraged with Trump in 2020. When he disavowed, went on Hannity and disavowed the Proud Boys. And I've maintained that I wrote in the name Gavin McGinnis for president that year. Um, but you have just, at first I was with J.D. Vance, not having looked at it very closely, that the violent attacks on the Capitol, some of them looked really ugly. I mean, it only looked like it was like a half dozen guys. Let's even say a dozen. It wasn't 1,600. That they shouldn't have been pardoned. Maybe their sentences commuted. I mean, you get 4 or 5 years for murder in this country. And then I heard that Enrique Tarrio was sentenced to 22 years, and I just blew up and said, no, pardon them all, pardon them all. So I
Mm.
want you to explain. I just want to hear about the conditions you were held under and that sort of thing. But you burned a BLM flag, and
Mhm.
then the rest of it, you weren't even in Washington on January 6th, and it was just emails that they accused you of like organizing the entire thing. So tell us what happened.
Well, let's start by, I guess I'll address the burning of the BLM banner. And what ended up happening is, what ended up happening was the statute of limitations actually just lifted, but I was that one I took the hit for, but um, I didn't burn the BLM banner anyways. Uh,
Really?
yeah. So um, I did two prison sentences for crap that I didn't do. And then as
Why
far
were
as,
you accused of it?
well, I admit
Did
it.
some other Proud Boys do it?
I have no idea who did it.
Seriously.
I have no idea who did it, but I did admit to it because what ended up happening is that they put the FBI Washington field office went ahead and posted a picture on social media about about looking for these people that burned this glorious flag in their view, and they put a whole bunch of people that I know for a fact didn't burn the flag. So I said, well, there's a little bit of name ID with me. So if I say I burned it, then that they take the heat off the guys and they weren't going to do crap to me. Um,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow, that's kind of breaking news.
that is
I
breaking
think
news.
everybody thinks that is one thing you did, and that's why I
Yeah.
thought the 22 years might be a little excessive. So now you're
So
saying you didn't even burn the BLM flag.
you know what the craziest thing, although this is breaking news to you right now and a lot of people and your viewers, it wasn't news to the prosecutors that prosecuted me for it. Throughout trial, I mean, not trial because I didn't take it to trial. I had to take a plea deal. Well, I guess we'll go into that, but they knew I didn't burn it, so they didn't even say it in open court
Huh.
that I burned it. They're like, well, he took a lighter to it. And I did. I like posed. I grabbed a lighter after it was on fire, and I got right next to it. And but yeah, regardless, it's water under the bridge. They did catch me. This is the stupidity on my part. I was a complete idiot. Um, I brought two regular capacity magazines, which DC considered high capacity magazines, and then those were felonies. So they made me plea out to the felonies on that case. So there, if I'm guilty, I'll say I'm guilty. Sometimes when I'm innocent, I'll say I'm guilty. Uh, but for the most part, that's what happened that day. And then to shift over to what's been
Wait a
going.
second. Why did you have ammunition if you didn't have a gun with you?
Because out of my store, I used to run a shop called the 1776 shop, and I used to make custom lasered magazines. So I had two of my guys that were going to DC that day that I custom lasered their chapter logo on it, and they were still in the package, and I was actually delivering them to him. But again, it was stupid on my part to do that. Whatever, I paid the price for it.
Yeah.
But regardless, the prosecutors knew exactly why that I didn't burn it. They didn't even mention it on the day of sentencing. They just said again that I kneeled and I put a lighter in the direction of the banner. And then when to go
And
with
you
the
got like 4 months for that, right?
I got the maximum sentence, which is 5.5 months for it. I was the first person in DC since COVID started to get jail time for a misdemeanor because they weren't putting people in jail for misdemeanors at that time. It was policy of the prosecutor of the districts to not imprison people that are charged with misdemeanors unless they have like a giant rap sheet, which doesn't
Hmm.
even count really if you do have a misdemeanor. Uh, but
Wow.
I think the president said that he was going to look at these cases case by case, and I think he did. And like you said, I didn't like the violence. I called out the violence that same day. I'm like, look, I don't agree with what happened. I also kind of sympathize with the plight of some of these police officers that were there. Like, you signed up for a job and you came in the morning. They're like, your job is to protect this building, uh, and they did. Most of them did. So I feel bad that some of them got assaulted, but that's not what President Trump pardoned.
Hmm.
He used as his measuring stick of pardoning, he used the miscarriage of justice. The process was flawed in every single case here. There wasn't a
Yes.
single case. I know that there was some members of BLM and Antifa that were prosecuted. There was like one or two of them that were prosecuted for going into the Capitol. There was many more that weren't prosecuted that we identified, and nothing ever came of that. Um, so he wasn't looking at what your political affiliation was or anything like that, or if you were a government informant, because a lot of the government state, some of the guys that went state on these cases also got their sentences pardoned. One of them being in my case by the name of Jeremy Bertino got his sentence commuted. God
Hmm.
bless his heart, and I hope he does very well. But I think he had to pardon these people not because of the acts that they committed, but because of how the process works and the targeting by the DOJ. The process has to be fair. If it's not fair, there's no
Yes.
solution but being granted a full pardon by the president of the United States.
Yes.
Plus,
Yes. It
he's a
was the
president.
biggest.
You might disagree with me sometimes, but he's a president of that. He keeps his promises.
He sure is this time. Not so good after 2016. Anyway, this was the biggest Department of Justice investigation in history I have read. I think it was the New York Times bragging about it.
Mhm.
And looking a little more closely, I mean, you're absolutely right. You're not going to get a fair trial in D.C., which is why, by the way, Gavin McInnes advised the Proud Boys, don't go to D.C. for this rally. Do not go.
Yeah.
And I want to get to the stabbing of the Proud Boys. But the jury is going to be unfair. They, of course, acquitted John Hinckley, the guy who tried to kill Reagan. They cheered for Marion Barry, the mayor who destroyed the city and was caught on videotape smoking crack. It's just a preposterous. It makes the Bronx jury concept look like the fairest jury you've ever seen. It appears that the prosecutors and the judges and the media were all in league to get the highest sentences, while meanwhile around the country, federal courthouses and ICE buildings are being burnt down by Antifa, and they're all being, we're not going to press charges.
You can watch complete episodes of Unsafe with Ann Coulter by subscribing to anncoulter.substack.com. That's anncoulter.substack.com. You can also listen to complete episodes for free at Ricochet.com. Choose Unsafe from the pull-down menu at the top of the page. That's Ricochet.com, your home for civil center right conversation on the web.